You're welcome. NC Continental Prime begins in West Africa. Nigeria has been plunged into darkness once again as the nation's electricity grid collapsed. The transmission company of Nigeria managed grid went down at approximately 11:51 a.m. on Sunday, reducing the system's capacity from 2,407 megawatts to a mere 31 megawatts by noon and reaching zero by 1 p.m. Now, despite the Nigerian federal government privatizing the sector over 11 years ago, the grid remains unreliable, failing consumers on a more than 141 occasions. Distribution companies are already alerting customers about their situation, even as the generation companies have repeatedly expressed concern over the impact on the safety and durability of their equipment. We'll keep our eyes on that one. And now to an update on the passing of the Namibian president. Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has extended the deep condolences to the government and people of Namibia over the passing of His Excellency, President Hage Geingob. The president, through his special advice on media and publicity, Ajiri Ngelale, on Sunday, said that on behalf of the people of Nigeria, he joins in mourning the painful loss of a veteran in the struggle for democracy. President Tinubu described Geingob as a proponent of good governance and an advocate for economic, social, and political solidarity amongst the peoples of Africa. Earlier, we were joined by President of the United Independent Movement, Neil DeBeer, who spoke on the death.
Lost a great tree in the forest of Africa and the world. I had the pleasure of meeting His Excellency President Geingob in the early 2000s, where we were planning certain developments and certain structures of strategy for the country. And I was absolutely amazed in the way that he was a leader, his way of thinking, and it's a true loss, not only to Namibia, but to this continent. President Geingob was an astute politician. He was a leader within the liberation organization of SWAPO for many, many years, was a prime minister and then a president. And his leadership style that I experienced, and so many, was that he was indeed an in-depth thinker. He was a person that thought through many processes before speaking, and I found him a very intelligent person and well-informed, and therefore, in my opinion, not just a leader, but also a very, very well-organized.
But the soul of President Geingob, rest in peace. Let's move to other stories now. Former governor of Yobe State, Bukar Abba Ibrahim, has passed on. Senator Abba Ibrahim, who died at the age of 75, was the first elected governor of Yobe State in northern Nigeria from January 1992 to November 1993 in the aborted Third Republic. He was also governor of Yobe State from May 29, 1999 to May 29, 2007. The news of his death was contained in the social media platform of the Gujba Emirate Council. He died in the Medina Hospital after an illness. May his rest in peace. In other news, Commissioner of Police for Nigeria's Federal Capital Territory, Benneth Igweh, has issued a directive for a crackdown on vehicles lacking proper number plates or displaying only a single number plate while operating on the roads of the Federal Capital Territory. In a statement released on Sunday by the FCT's Police Public Relations Officer, SP Josephine Adeh, it was revealed that the heads of tactical units have been assigned the task of identifying potential black spots and kidnappers' hideouts in the federal capital, ensuring a proactive approach to combating crime. The directive came during a meeting convened by the Commissioner with the management team, tactical unit leaders and department heads of the FCT Police Command, including area commanders and divisional police officers, which was held on Saturday. Residents are encouraged to report any suspicious activities through designated emergency lines, as you can see on your screen, as police authorities are calling for collaboration and support in terms of useful and credible information. And now let's take updates on the rerun and by-elections held across 26 states of Nigeria yesterday, Saturday. Voting commenced in some of the wards in Plateau State that the electorate could not vote on Saturday because of inadequate ballot papers. It was a peaceful polling in Unit 52, Zebra Rock Haven, in Jos North local government area of the state. Meanwhile, it's a different ball game altogether at the Ward 46, Alama Junction, where voters had not voted at the time of this report. 1,140 voters were said to have registered, but only 98 ballot papers were seen, as was reported on Saturday at polling unit 52, Rock Haven. As at the time of filing this report, News Central's Chizoba Anioe reported that INEC officials, security agents, and electoral materials were yet to arrive, while registered voters were still on ground hoping to vote.
There's no problem. As I came, I gave them my card. They look at it and they mark it, and they capture my image and give me the paper to go and vote. So I just finished my vote now, and I'm feeling very good. I thank God that at least I'm able to participate.
So today I'm very happy I was able to cast my vote. I went to church and I just came back and I'm very sure that my vote will be counted. So I'm very happy that today I voted.
Yeah, it's peaceful. You can see everybody, no problem, going about a normal thing, irrespective of our political difference. Vote your choice. That is it. Yes. It's true. Yes.
But it's quite appalling and disheartening that this process is exceeding Saturday, the normal day, because it's just North Ambassa and the whole of the zone that have a rerun, like just South and just East Bariki-Ladirium do not have any elections apart from that of the Senate. So this is supposed to be an election that they give you 2 ballot papers and you just go and vote for your choice and depart. But we're surprised that today being Sunday, we're having another round of the elections. We just hope that the polling units that didn't vote yesterday will have the opportunity of voting today.
The Independent National Electoral Commission has declared the candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Musa Mustafa, as the winner of the Yobe East senatorial by-election, which was held on Saturday. The returning officer of INEC, Professor Ibrahim Ahmed Jajere, declared in Damaturu on Sunday that Mustafa scored 68,778 votes to defeat Aji Kolomi of the People's Democratic Party, who got 18,878 votes. Let's stay with the Independent National Electoral Commission. That body has declared Shitu Ibrahim of the All Progressives Congress winner of Saturday's State House of Assembly rerun for Shaki West State constituency in Oyo State in Nigeria's southwest. The returning officer for Shaki West State constituency, Professor Olushola Oyewo from the University of Ibadan, declared the results at the INEC Collation Center in Shaki West local government area. He announced that Mr. Ibrahim had scored 13,850 votes to beat his closest opponent, Julius Okedoyi of the People's Democratic Party, who polled 13,670 votes. The resident electoral commissioner, Adinra Tella, meanwhile, monitored the rerun election in the company of the state's Commissioner of Police, Adebola Hamzat, commended the seamless conduct of the exercise.
The reason behind the conducting of this election is that the first one is the cancellation of the election in Ward 11 PU019 as a result of overvoting. And the second reason based on the bypass of the viewers where it did not take place in Ward 007 and PU06. The third reason is the margin of lead principle, where the court was the opinion that about 1,285 voters were defranchised because of the margin of lead between the two leading candidates that remains 223. And this margin of lead principle has got to do with when the total number of PVC are relatively lower to the total number of PVC collected. So, and this is in line with the guidelines and regulation of the Commission, the conduct of the election, and also to the Electoral Act 2022 in Section 23 and 56 respectively.
The voting process so far, so good. There is an early coming out by our people. As early as 7 a.m. our people have been on the queue up till when the INEC officers came around. And ever since the commencement of this process, it has been very peaceful. There is every presence of security men, starting from the military men, the soldiers, the police force, and the officers of the DSS. So far so good. Everything has been peaceful.
The run was ordered, and then we had the election today. And then the same people that voted me in the first place said they are going to repeat what they have done earlier. And then today, they repeated what they've done earlier. So I'm very, very grateful with them. Despite all the intimidation and everything with the government, with the state government power, they load over 50 buses of PMS boy from Ibadan to Shaki. Even with all that, my people, they stand by me, and I'm very, very, very grateful with them. I can't thank them enough. I don't even know how
The candidates of the All Progressives Congress, Choja Blessing and Anthony Alapala, have been declared winners of Saturday's rerun in both Ethiop West and Burutu 1 state constituencies of the Delta State House of Assembly. News Central correspondent Austin Azu brings us details.
Officer Professor Ezike Agbalagba, who declared the Ethiop West rerun elections results on Saturday night at the INEC office in Ogara, administrative headquarters of Ethiop West local government area of Delta State, said the candidate of the APC, Blessing Achoja, pulled 6,462 votes, while the People's Democratic Party's candidate, Christian Onogba, obtained 5,057 votes.
I, Professor Ezekiel Agbalagba, hereby certify that I am the returning officer for the 2024 Ethiop West State Constituency rerun election held on the 3rd of February 2024. The election was contested and the following result was obtained. Achoja Blessing of APC male have 6462. Onogba Ogenekere Christian male of PDP have 5057 votes. That Achoja Blessing of APC, having satisfied the requirements of the law, is hereby declared the winner and is returned elected.
Mr. Achoja, who was declared winner, also received his certificate of return. In an interview, he appreciated his constituents for the confidence they have on him to represent them at the State House of Assembly. He promised to attract meaningful development to the area and called on other candidates that contested with him to come together and work for the development of the people.
Not easy at all, but the victory speaks volume, and it's a mark for a better tomorrow. Well, Ethiopia West people are expecting so much from me. The body placed on me is enormous and demanding, and I believe I will discharge the dividend of democracy for our people. And through Democrat, I belong to two Democrats, and I believe God strengthened me to do more for our people. And I know with the power of our, like I said, national leader, who will get a better tomorrow for Ethiopia State constituency.
Meanwhile, in the Burutu State Constituency 1 rerun, the APC candidate won with 7,728 votes to defeat the PDP candidate, who obtained 6,616 votes. In Ogara for News Central, I'm Austin Azu.
Welcome back. You're still watching NC Continental Prime. Let's go to more stories, but we remain with the elections that held on Saturday. The by-election ordered by the courts for Enugu South Urban State constituency in 8 polling units, that's a rerun election, failed to take place as scheduled by the electoral body following the indefinite suspension of the exercise by the authorities. Some party agents had demanded for the original result sheets to be cited before the process commences as early as 8 a.m., but the demand fell on deaf ears. Well, News Central's Chinwe Ogele in Enugu reports on the activities that happened before the suspension.
Those sounds rented the air morning of the election on Robinson Street, Enugu, where the two polling units for the rerun were located. It was an expression of frustration, having waited for hours for the election process to commence. Obviously, there were voters, there were INEC officials and electoral materials, but nothing was happening right inside the centers that were opposite each other for hours.
This morning. Yes, 7 a.m. Sorry, this morning. Or just to find out that there's no materials to vote. We are demanding of the result sheet. Let's see the sensitive material so that we can start casting our vote.
I feel very bad, although despite that it's not everything that I will say, but I know how we suffered, went to CBN to get the materials. I followed my boss, went to CBN to get the materials on Thursday. I will take it to the INEC office and everything, only for us to get information at this moment that some hoodlums break into that place and made away with the papers. Now, we couldn't see the paper here. And election can't go on without showing us the result sheet. We need to see the original result sheet before the election will go on.
Upon arrival at the school afternoon, the resident electoral commissioner Enugu, Dr. Chukwuemeka Chukwu, declared that the original result sheets were missing and provided an alternative so that the election could commence.
If a result sheet is manipulated, if a result sheet is missing, what we are going to issue is a replacement.
This met a stiff resistance from the agents of the Labour Party.
Having gotten deniable information that the original result has been tampered with, now we requested to see it before the commencement of the election. Now they refuse to show the original result sheet. And we said that there will be no election. If they are not ready, they should cancel it and tell us another date when the election will hold.
2 hours later, the rerun was called off and the officials of INEC, security and voters dispersed.
If you look at that place, it's filled by quite number of people. And those places staff, some of them became afraid in order to endorse the threats, in order to not cause him more harm. After issuing the replacement sheets, I communicate them to the commission. And it's my duty as resident electoral commissioner to update the national office.
Enugu South urban rerun was ordered in the affected polling units due to their cancellations by the court owing to irregularities. In Enugu, for News Central, Chinwe Ogele.
Earlier reports indicated that an INEC official was beaten for having pre-filled election result sheets in Enugu.
This is what is happening. They had already written all the election. So I told him that I'm not it. I'm expecting that the SPO will bring it. So they forced me to search my bag. I don't know that the result sheet is inside my bag. So I just showed them because they wanted to kill me.
What is in the result sheet you showed us?
So the result is already right.
There now. There is a write it. There now.
Meanwhile, the Independent National Electoral Commission has debunked allegations saying that the circulated video is fake. Well, to further discuss this and issues surrounding the elections, I'm joined tonight by Elvis Asia. He's a legal practitioner. Elvis, it's good to have you and a very good evening to you. I want to start by asking you, about the violence recorded in parts of the country during yesterday's elections, despite the argument that off-cycle elections usually expected to be more secure because the agencies of security have fewer places to focus on. But what's your take on that, looking at some of the violent incidents of yesterday?
Well, it remains the same. Elections in Nigeria are often characterized by all sorts of insecurity, violence, thuggery, and because of the desperation by politicians, to subvert the will of the people. So long as politicians continue to want to subvert the will of the people, you continue to have violence in elections. Even if you mobilize the entire battalion of the Nigerian army to polling units, and you still continue to have situations like this. It is very sad that in the 21st century, in 2024, one would have thought that you would have found some solutions to preventing election violence and thuggery across the country. But it's unfortunate that it just remains a cycle. Whether or not it's an off-cycle election or a rerun election or a general election, the crises are always there. Because, like I said, there's always the desperation by politicians to capture power. What we have in Nigeria is not a democracy. It is actually power capture. It is civilian coup, so to say. And so, in order to have that happen, you'll see all this violence and you see crises in elections.
So Elvis, is it safe to say that the idea of free and fair elections are now out of reach for Nigeria as a nation, looking at what's been happening?
Well, I mean, quite frankly, if we really want to be realistic, the idea of a free and fair election has never really been in practice in Nigeria. There has been pockets of, electoral, redemption in some cases. You could have pockets, but by and large, it's always a case of an attempt by people to, subvert the will of the people. I don't really think that we can have a free and fair system, given the current realities of Nigerian political space. People are not punished for bad behavior. Those who continue to perpetrate electoral violence across the country, we have never had a case of anybody that has been successfully prosecuted, arrested, and detained. We have never really seen a serious cases where election results are overturned by reason of violence. The electoral process, even the process by which you can recapture your mandate, so to say, even in the court, it's so difficult. It's so skewed against justice that you're not going to find it. So long as we continue to have a system that rewards violence, a system that nobody can be punished for doing the wrong thing, the system will continue, and free and fair election will continue to be a pipe dream for Nigeria, unfortunately.
All right. You used the words there, pipe dream. Well, despite the abundance of video evidence, identifying electoral offenders by face in Nigeria in recent elections, they hardly brought to book. Why is this the case?
Well, I mean, I had already made the point that the electoral offenders that you see, the political talks all over the place are sponsored by people, the powers that be. They are sponsored by power grabbers. They are sponsored by politicians. And so the moment they are, in some cases when they are arrested, they never go to trial, because at the end of the day, the process will be truncated by those who are sponsoring them. And that's what you have had. And we also have very weak system. Our policing, our security system is not just weak, it is corrupted. So there's really no punishment for bad behavior in the system. I have also mentioned, the court system. It's practically impossible, to bring to book these guys. Apart from the political interference in the judicial process, the court system is practically difficult. I'm a lawyer, and I go to court every day. And sometimes I ask myself, are we really interested in justice? Are we really interested in the substance of the case? Apart from the fact that the rules and the system are such that justice can hardly be attained. The good judges in the system are overworked. They don't have the facility to really do the work that they should.
So Elvis, is how Nigerians get themselves, out of this corner?
Well, we have to get back to the basics. Like some people say, we have to get back to the drawing board. We have to try to build proper institutions. The people must rise up. You see, democracy is supposed to be government of the people, for the people, and by the people. And so until the people decides to really stand up and face these politicians and insist on what is right, on insist on their mandate, you're not going to have any proper system. I saw the video that was shown in by the station a while ago about people resisting the conduct of election, where it was very clear that the original result sheet was missing, which means somebody has written the results on, and they're asking you to go and do a kangaroo election. So I mean, such a very fraudulent process, and that's what the people need to do. The people need to rise up until we, in some instances, you see them coming to the polling units, distributing cash, distributing some very funny gifts to buy votes. The Nigerian people will have to stand up and insist on the proper things being done. And that's on the one hand. On the other hand, we need to build proper institutions. The electoral umpire is not an umpire as we speak. The 2023 elections and other subsequent elections have shown that INEC is not just compromised, it is grossly incompetent and incapable of controlling a just and fair electoral system for Nigeria. We have to make sure that we have an independent system that can conduct an election. You can't have an umpire who is being appointed by some of the participants in the electoral process. We saw instances in the last year or 2 years ago where no politicians were being appointed as commissioners into INEC. And what do you expect for somebody who is a card carrying member of a political party, to be appointed as commissioner into the electoral umpire? What do you expect? The person will go there to do the bidding of his party, and that's what we have been seeing. So the problem is so much. Then we also need to look at our security agencies. Like I said, they are practically in the pockets of those who are truncating the will of the people in this country. And so we need to have a proper policing system, a system that is independent, that can do proper investigation. Because even when you genuinely arrest people today for electoral fraud and violence and whatever it is, it's practically impossible to convict them because no proper investigation is not. It's not enough to show it on TV. It's not enough to say that somebody stole ballot papers. Now there are so many things involved. So you need to do that. And until we are really serious with having a fair system, we're not going to have it. Yeah.
All right. Elvis, I want to thank you so very kindly for joining us tonight and for lending us your knowledge and analysis of the electoral scene in Nigeria. Hope for the best, and we hope that Nigerians will have elections that they can be proud of in the future. Thank you so very kindly for your time. The Alumni Association of Igbobi College, one of Nigeria's oldest secondary schools, is calling for improvement in both morals and education standards across the country. They emphasized this message at the 92nd Founders Day anniversary celebration and merit award presentation honoring deserving individuals. News Central's Ni Omoni has more.
Once boys and students of the prestigious Igbobi College, the boys and our grown men who have established themselves as respected individuals and leaders. They serve as captains of industries and top principals across Nigeria, upholding a legacy of excellence and achievement worth emulating. As Igbobi College celebrates its 92nd anniversary with a luncheon and merit awards ceremony, the Old Boys Association believes these better illustrates the transitions and accomplishments of the school's esteemed alumni over the decades.
Oh, I think today is a great day for ICOBA. So 92 years that the school has existed, Igbobi College. And of course, we take the opportunity to honor our best who have established themselves in different walks of life.
Beyond the festivities, the Old Boys, as they are fondly called, believe there is much to learn from the school's principle and educational model. According to them, if adopted more widely, such practices could help further improve the quality of education across Nigeria.
If you don't have a good quality teaching community, you cannot produce the best students. And this is what we try to encompass in showing that that is the way forward, because it actually works because we see the results.
You can't give what you don't have.
And we have a situation where the people in charge of education do not even know the standards they should aspire to, So we have to find a way of going back to the basics. Imitation is the highest form of flattery. They should just imitate us. We're doing a lot. Do what we're doing, and we will all develop together. As it is now, we are even advising some schools, on what to do.
For the award recipient, the recognition serves as a call to greater service and impact.
In my life, I had close to over 80 to 90, close to 100 awards, both locally and internationally. I would tell you with all sense of humility that this is the best, the highest, however, because the best recognition comes from those that know you.
Anybody who passed out of either a secondary school or a university, and whatever we have become today is because of what that school put in us. So it is time for everybody who passed out of a school to give back to that school what they put in your life to become whatever you are today.
Having produced many eminent Nigerians, the faith-based school advocates support for initiatives that can strengthen moral character and learning across the country. In Lagos for News Central, Ni Omani.
Senegalese police fired tear gas to disperse hundreds of opposition supporters who had gathered at a roundabout in the capital, Dakar, following the postponement of the presidential election by President Macky Sall. The demonstrators, responding to the call of several opposition candidates, faced off against law enforcement on one of Dakar's main roads. Some protesters retaliated by hurling rocks at the police, leading to a chaotic scene. President Sall addressed the nation on Saturday, explaining that he signed a decree to revoke a previous measure that set the election date, which he said was prompted by ongoing investigations into the integrity of two Constitutional Council judges involved in the electoral process. According to the country's election code, a minimum of 80 days must pass between the publication of the decree and the election. Consequently, the earliest possible date for the election is now late April. And let's stay in Senegal for a moment. Members of parliament representing Yewwi Askan Wi, opposition coalition, have declared their intention to mount a legal challenge against President Macky Sall's decision to postpone the scheduled presidential election slated for February 25 this year. President Sall's announcement of the indefinite postponement of the presidential election on Saturday has ignited widespread international concern. He cited a dispute between the National Assembly and the Constitutional Court regarding the rejection of candidates as a basis for his intervention. The opposition coalition contends that any extension of the country's president's mandate, or the current president's mandate, even by mere 24 hours, constitute a blatant violation of the Constitution.
Ce que nous avons constaté ici, c'est qu'en prolongeant, ne serait-ce que de 24 heures, le mandat du président de la République en place, ils étaient en train de violer la Constitution. Pourquoi? Parce que l'article 103 de la Constitution fixe la durée du mandat du président de la République. Vous vous rappelez bien en 2016, quand sur l'avis décision du Conseil constitutionnel pour dire que le président de la République ne peut pas réduire son mandat, il faut qu'il fasse 7 ans. Alors, qui ne peut pas réduire, peut-il augmenter? Le peuple doit savoir que le groupe parlementaire Yewwi Askan Wi va déposer demain au niveau du Conseil constitutionnel un recours contre la résolution mettant en place la commission d'enquête parlementaire. Et les arguments ont été bien développés dans le recours qui sera déposé demain. Nous attendons également la promulgation. Il faut qu'on informe tout le monde.
We're joined now by Adrian E. Elimian. He is the editorial lead at Africa Elects. Adrian, good to have you on the news tonight. Electoral polls have been postponed as we head in Senegal. Many say that the President Sall is doing this because he wants to keep power. What's your thought on this?
Good evening. Thank you for having me on. This postponement is unprecedented in Senegalese politics. And as you said, many in the opposition have accused President Macky Sall of effectively treason, a power grab. extending his term of office. I think that the lack of specifics from Saul is telling. He did not give a date for the rescheduled election, and he's not made it clear what would need to change in order for elections to hold. On the other side, the opposition claimed that there are various theories around the postponement. They revolve around Saul's anointed candidate. His Prime Minister Amadou Ba is his party's nominee in the upcoming elections. And the opposition claimed that Ba is unlikely to win. He lacked political base of his own, is uncharismatic, and that he was going to lose to Bassirou Diomaye Faye, the main opposition candidate. Faye is only the opposition candidate because his coalition's leader, Ousmane Sonko, has been convicted and sentenced to prison. But Faye is also imprisoned, but he has not been convicted yet. The opposition claimed that the postponement is an attempt to delay the election until Faye has been convicted, and thus he'd be disqualified so that Ba, Saul's coalition's candidate, can win practically unopposed.
We hear Minister has resigned from the cabinet of President Saul since this suspension of the election was announced. What do you make of it? What do you think we should be looking out for in the coming days?
Yes, Minister Abdulatif Coulibaly resigned in opposition to this postponement. We should be looking out for more internal dissent from the government and from Saul's allies, but the main focus is going to be on the opposition. As previously noted, the opposition are taking legal action. They claim that there is no provision of the Constitution that allows the president to do this. Additionally, there is concern. Today, law enforcement fired tear gas in Dakar, and there's fears that the violence could escalate to the levels seen last year during demonstrations after opposition leader Ousmane Sonko was convicted. Over 20 people were killed in riots following that.
With the number of coups that Africa has faced in recent years, what do you think President Saul has to do to avoid any form of disruption to, democracy and constitutional rule in Senegal?
Yes. President Saul must define the timeline for the next election. Senegalese electoral code mandates that there must be at least 80 days between the signing of an electoral decree and the upcoming election. So if this postponement stands, the nearest date the election can be held isn't until April. It's a sign of a worrying trend. This is the third move by an African president in the last 6 months that opposition had described as an institutional coup after similar incidents in Madagascar and Guinea-Bissau. These aren't nearly as destructive as military coups, but they have extremely negative impacts on democracy and destroys the trust in the system from the public. Additionally, the international community needs to update its expectations. ECOWAS and large Western nations can no longer just applaud nations for holding elections. They need to use their influence and power to actually push for true democracy. It goes beyond just things that Saul can do.
All right, Adrian Elliman, thank you so kindly for your time tonight.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Welcome back. The World Health Organization's Regional Director for Africa, Dr. Matshidiso Moeti, has expressed concern over the devastating impact of cancer in Africa. Speaking on World Cancer Day, she revealed that in 2022, cancer claimed the lives of over 500,000 Africans. Dr. Moeti highlighted the prevalence of breast, cervical, prostate, colorectal, and liver cancers, attributing 50% of new cases to these types. She warned that without urgent intervention, cancer-related deaths in Africa could reach 1 million annually by 2030. Dr. Moeti is urging leaders to prioritize cancer prevention and care while stressing the need for universal access to life-saving interventions. Now, despite progress in prevention and care, cancer survival rates remain low, averaging 12%, far below the global average. Three-time African champions Nigeria will arrive the city of Bouaké in La Côte d'Ivoire on Tuesday for their semi-final clash at the ongoing 34th African Nations Cup holding in La Côte d'Ivoire. This against South Africa's Bafana Bafana. Nigeria Super Eagles will continue their preparations for the encounter in the capital city Abidjan on Monday and will only have the official training on arrival in Côte d'Ivoire's second city in the afternoon, Abidjan being the second city and not the capital city. The semi-final encounter against South Africa's Bafana Bafana will go down on Wednesday at the 40,000-seater football stadium in the city of Bouaké. Correspondent Favor Itwa joins us live now from Abidjan, La Côte d'Ivoire. Favor, bonjour.
Bonsoir, Kofi Bates.
All right, thank you very much. I was testing you there. And good to see you. I know you're having a swell time in La Côte d'Ivoire. The last time the Elephant, or Les Elephants, hosted their only previous African Nations Cup final, but 40 years ago, Nigeria also played, a semi-final match in the city of Bouaké. But 40 years ago, they played against the Pharaohs of Egypt. And Nigeria won that match in the ensuing penalty shootout by 8-7. And as we all know, they'll be up against South Africa. Please, bring us up to speed with expectations.
Can you come again?
All right. What I said was Nigeria played in the last time the Côte d'Ivoire hosted this tournament about 40 years ago, going to the semi-finals and playing that semi-finals in the city of Bouaké, the same city where we play in La Côte d'Ivoire. But those 40 years ago, they played against the Pharaohs of Egypt, winning in the ensuing penalty shootout by 8-7. And this time around, they're playing the semi-final against South Africa. So please bring us up to speed with what's been happening in camp and the expectations ahead of this encounter.
All right, for the Super Eagles of Nigeria, they had their recovery training session today at the École de la Police in Abidjan. This is, of course, to shake up the legs of the holiday they had yesterday, which, of course, was on Saturday. After that win against the team they played, talking about, of course, they played, of course, in Abidjan. They were able to rest, and then fast forward to today, they had a training session. They were able to shake up their legs, and not forgetting the players who didn't have much of game time, or those that did not even play the game, on Friday, did participate more in the training, as those that played the game had just little light warm-up, to just, go around the field. But the other team, which is, of course, the Team B, had intense training. And for the likes of Victor Osimhen and others, after a while, they were just, resting, preparing, of course, ahead of this week that would see them travel from Abidjan to Bouaké. Also to note, no injury worries in the camp of the Super Eagles of Nigeria. They are optimistic. They know what is at stake. They know that they have to do the job, considering the fact that they are the highest-ranked team at the moment right here in Côte d'Ivoire. So they'll be traveling for the first time to Bouaké on Tuesday, to play South Africa, which, of course, is another test for the team.
Very interesting. We wish the Super Eagles of Nigeria and indeed all the other African teams out there the very best. Favor, do take care of yourself, and looking forward to more reports from you.
Thank you very much. Bonne nuit.
Bonne nuit. And that's all at this hour. Before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories tonight. Darkness has covered Nigeria as the electricity grid has collapsed yet again in the country. The first elected governor of Yobe State, Bukar Abba Ibrahim, has passed on after a brief illness. He died in Medina. Also, the Senegalese presidential elections postponement has sparked a legal battle amidst protests and violence on the streets of Dakar. We'd like to hear from you. Please send us your eyewitness reports using the WhatsApp number. An email address showing on your screen. Please do so as safely as you can. Also, follow us on social media. We're at News Central TV on the major social media platforms. And you can watch us live on any of these channels or platforms. Thank you very kindly for your time. That's the news for tonight, right here on News Central TV. On behalf of myself, Kofi Bartels, and the entire team, do have yourself a good night.